He built one of the world's most diversified private investment powerhouses, a global leader whose portfolio spans real estate, energy, and technology across 3 continents. His journey is the ultimate testament to turning displacement into unparalleled world-class success. He proves that the Kashmiri spirit of enterprise knows no borders. Please welcome our chief guest of the conclave and our chief patron, the founder of AT Capital, Mr. Arvind Tiku.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite Arvind Tiku ji on stage to share his thoughts. Many of you know him as the maverick managing director of AT Capital, a billionaire who's made of us proud. But I want to share something which is not on the internet, but yeah, I hope it's okay. First of all, he speaks fluent Kashmiri. Despite traveling and living abroad, he has deeply stayed connected to his roots. Second, he has a bias for action. From the very first call we interacted with him, one thing I realized about Arvind Bhaiya, it was all about do, do, do. Less talk, more do. That's his mantra. My fellow entrepreneurs, leaders, here is your masterclass on scaling, growing, and becoming a global leader. Arvind Bhaiya, please.
First of all, namaskar Mara. I want to make a confession. I have never done this before in my life. I'm doing this for the first time. So if I'm all over the place and I don't have a script to it, I haven't thought this through, I'm just going to do it from my heart. And if I'm all over the place, excuse me for that. So, Bumarachus, I'm a typical Kashmiri kid who was born in Srinagar on the ghats of Jhelum River next to a temple called Raghunath Mandir. All my childhood and my early years of childhood were spent around the temple. Tat Maharajana Kashmir Thar, Parikrama, what you might call. And every festival or anything that was of any joy in life used to be around that. I'm a hardcore Kashmiri Pandit, born in Kashmir, and kept my Kashmiriyat all my life. And still I'm very proud to carry it on my shoulder. I am a very, very proud Kashmiri. My journey from there took us to Jammu. Never could go back, as a lot of us couldn't. And from there, whatever I have been able to do in my life or whatever little I've achieved has been pure struggle. Struggle to make sure that what we lost, and when I would look at my family and what we went through was purely driven by one motive, and it was pure selfishness about trying to provide for my family. It was not, premeditated, large vision. It was pure, pretty simple, forward, straight. But yes, it has been a roller coaster ride for me. I was thrown opportunities, and probably what I did, I just went out and worked out as hard as I could to see what of it can be converted and what cannot be. So from there, I went to, under the India-USSR exchange program, I went to study in Russia. That's where I did my 6 years of journey. And luckily for me, or I'd say an opportunity for me, was when the whole Soviet Union started trembling down and broke down. And as it broke down, so did the supply chains across the Soviet republics. And that's where I saw my opportunity. It was extremely entrepreneurial. It was extremely challenging. And probably it was for somebody like me, because I wasn't very smart to understand risk. I believed that perseverance is going to get me there. And I just pursued it as it came my way. So for me, the mantra in my life is very, very simple. Go out there. If you have an idea, do it. And you never know. You might be able to do it. Just have the perseverance. Mara, intelligence is overrated, perseverance is underrated. And that's what I believe in. Intelligence comes from perseverance. Perseverance and discipline are part of the same coin. You just flip it and you'll see discipline on one hand and perseverance on the other side. To me, what is perseverance? To me, perseverance is a cause which you want to give to. It's never going to be a linear journey. Whatever Ajay ji and eloquent speakers before spoke, I'm not an eloquent speaker. As they said, I believe in action, I believe in getting together, and I believe in getting things done. And they'll never get done in a linear path. Beginning, it was driven purely by the fact to provide for my family. But as I had my life journey and it took me to different places, there was a event in my life which happened. I've always had this want of giving back to the community because of the displacement. It's troubled me to see us lose our identity. It troubles me to see our identity getting more and more diluted. And it's not like we could have done anything different, because the fact of the matter is that we were thrown in the deep end. And what we've done as a community is we have shown the resilience that we did rise to the occasion. Everybody around my family, be it my cousins, their kids, I look at them and look at how long and how far have they come post-displacement. It's something which is literally mind-boggling. But as we have individually been able to do it, I just wonder why as a community have we not been able to hold ourselves together. And that's been kind of a fire inside. And I have made few attempts on it before, but not with much success. Probably maybe I was not able to give much time to it. Probably maybe, I didn't find people who I could do it together with. So when one day I was having a debate with my brother, and we have these debates around the table all the time. I said, what you said, Kashmiris, we say we don't help each other. We say we have agendas driven politically, so on and so forth. We often have this debate at home. We are we're a typical Kashmiri family. हमारे घर में अभी भी हफ्ते में अगर एक बारी दो बारी रोगन जोश नहीं बनेगा, it's kind of, and my kids also, when I see them, after everything, जब घर में रोगन जोश बनता है, and I see my mother, who is now almost 80, feeding my 26-year-old son with her own hands, it reminds me when I used to come back from school, and she would feed me from Bernal School when I used to come home. And I feel, when I see this happen, I feel proud about it. It makes me feel that I have an identity. And as Ajay ji said, we look for identity only when we are able to provide for our basics. One thing happened in my life which actually shook me so deeply, and that's when I started telling myself that time for me to get involved and find a bunch of like-minded people who we could do something together with and give it a chance. And that was, as Marausak, we were looking at a project in Poland, and this was downtown Warsaw. And when I went to look at the site, I saw a writing on the wall, and this wall was an old wall which was oddly standing there. And I was like, why is this wall there? So I went closer and I read on it. And that was the place where 300,000 Jews were burnt alive by the Nazis. And to my surprise, while we were going around the site, you see kids coming out of buses, being taken all the way from Israel to all these places and being shown these sites. But obviously, the difference between us and the Jews has been that they have a state behind it. We are just, 800, 900,000 of us are no luck, as you said, right? So obviously, we don't have, a state behind us, and we'll never have one. We have zero political clout as either a vote bank or as somebody who will be moved by our plight or what we have been through. Kashmir Files was when people first time woke up and said, oh, ye hua tha. The only thing we can rely on is ourselves. And today, looking at this room of 180 people who've done very well for themselves in life, we need to ask ourselves, can we get together and do something where we can preserve ourselves as a community in any form, be it the language, be it our culture, be it our music, be it our food? What can we do about it? I don't know. I looked, when Ajay ji and me and some of you interacted for the first time, I told them, I don't know, whatever, we're discussing here, will it get converted? But if people in the room will be committed to it, we'll find a way. It might not be linear. The question is, do we have the commitment? And the question we need to ask ourselves at this stage of life where all of us are now is, do we have it in us to preserve this community as long and as far we can? I'm not sure. Eventually we will get diluted. We are very small. But whatever we can do to preserve and at least feel good about ourselves, taking action is what I really, am here for. That's my 2 bits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arvind ji. Thank you so much. Shukriya. So, I would request your presence once again on stage. I'm sure we want to ask a lot of things to Mr. Arvind Tiku. I think this is the time. You're welcome to put your questions, and I think he'll be more than happy to address and answer them.
My question to you is, as an entrepreneur, can you explain a bit more about scaling? Because that's where all of us fail. So we may have an idea, we may actually have moderate success, and you have naturally gone through this journey, right? So I would really be interested to know more about, how do you take something which is reasonably successful and put it on steroids, if that's the right word.
When you talk about entrepreneurship, most of the time we say, there has to be a vision. There has to be, a plan. There has to be a strategy, whatever you might want to call it. I do believe in all of that, yes. It needs to be the case. But as an entrepreneur, if you have the ability to take that strategy from macro to micro, where you can zoom out and zoom in and connect the dots, to me has been the way I have scaled my businesses. And I believed in one thing very early on in my life. I'm as good as the team of people I'm able to put together. I'm as good as transparency I can create in my structures to make sure that it functions, wherein you have talent from any part of your organization, big, small, be able to contribute to what you're doing, irrespective of, of age, irrespective of experience. So I believe scaling up is, first of all, obviously a strategy, but then a plan of execution, and then putting the right team together to be able to do it. It has to be day in and day out. You'll fall 10 times on your face. But if you believe in it and you're willing to change along the way, you're willing to not be rigid, you're willing to change even the plan where you started and wanted to go somewhere else and end up going somewhere else because you learn new things along the way, is what has helped me. That's how I've been able to build my businesses.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, if any of you have any questions, yes. I can see some hands up in there. I will certainly come to you. Let me start with the gentleman here.
Thank you. It was wonderful listening from you, Arvindji. I have a question related with what the other gentleman asked. Is that what is the difference between growth and scale? There are a lot of people who sometimes get into this argument or this discussion, and because being an entrepreneur, I have been into this entrepreneurial journey myself. But I just want to hear from you, because you have been at some stage today in your life. I want to ask you, what is the difference between growth and scale? That's my question.
Well, I'd say, isn't it like when there is possibility to scale up, then you can have growth, right? They're both. You can't have growth unless until there's possibility to scale it up, right? I mean, you can scale up only where there's possibility of a growth. So ability to see the scale is key if you have to have a large organization. You have to not just be able to evaluate the landscape of an industry, what exists today. You have to be able to extrapolate and see where it's going to go. And case of our country, India, is much easier than in a lot of other developed countries, because everything you touch in this country has the ability to have scale. The question is at what pace it will grow, and able to choose sectors where you see growth being driven by because of the need of the nation or because of the priorities of the society at that point of time, is how I have looked at sectors. I'll give an example. I was invested, this is 2010, 2011. I had two guys from IIT Delhi come to Singapore wanting to scale up their biomass business. They came to us for funding of 2 biomass plants somewhere in south of India. And my first question was, how many of them can we do across the country? And the answer was 15. Along the way, I realized, because I obviously backed them, because I felt these guys have a lot of pedigree and they can build it. But as I went along the journey, I learned so much about this space. And when I learned so much about this space, the biggest awakening for me was one simple thing, was this nation will need energy. Whether it's biomass, whether it's thermal, whether it's renewable, it needs energy. It'll need energy that is the cheapest energy. And that came purely by losing all the money in that biomass business which we invested in and building up a business which has nothing to do with biomass, but helped us scale in renewable energy space. So in this country, picking up spaces which have growth is quite easy. Execution in this country is a nightmare. So you should have the perseverance. I'd say not for weak-hearted, but yeah.
Thank you for an inspiring story and your commitment to see that we don't disintegrate. You mentioned that it needs commitment from all of us. And one is a kind of commitment which IQWAT and on an organized scale is being done. But from each individual, what do you think are the top 3 commitments as an individual we can make to aid whatever process would help us get back engaged more on common purposes? Thank you. My name is Ashok Thosu. I am in the leadership domain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. Mara, everything needs an organization to build up, and the organization that has to be willing to change. And each one of us can contribute not just only to the growth of that organization, but at the same time can contribute in whatever ways or whatever walks of life we are in. I look at IQWAT today as a platform. Do I think it's a platform that will deliver everything? I'll be honest. No. Does the platform have the ability to do that? Yes. How will we achieve it? We will achieve it but by I firmly believe, I don't believe philanthropy or anything can be done on pro bono basis. I believe that every organization needs management. If people you want to attract who are going to do work day in and day out and execute on the plan, have to be able to live that life, which will mean financial commitments from all of us to this platform and the ability of this platform to evolve, listen, be open to suggestions to people, listen, and then able to create first that platform that can actually execute on what the strategy is. I think larger picture, larger goals are very clearly mentioned by Ajay-ji. How do we protect our identity? How do we not go extinct? And the word extinct is kind of scary because imagine, the culture we have, the backgrounds we come from, it all disappear one day. We won't be able to relate. Kashmir is the only place where Shiva and Shakti are together in Tulmul. We won't be able to relate to Shaivism, which was born in Kashmir. We won't be able to relate to simple Kashmiri songs, which folk music, which still gets my, hair up when I listen to it. So we know what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a way, how do we preserve identity? Identity is everything, everything. I'd say culture. And then how do we create a platform which all of us are willing to contribute in whatever way we can to make that platform effective? At the end of the day, it's very simple. Unless until the platform has proper management in place and execute on it day in and day out, with all due respect, all of the people who are involved in IQWAT, in order to achieve tangible results, we need resources. And resources are all kinds of resources. Human resources, financial resources, commitment, failing, getting up again. So that's what I believe. I believe, and we won't know unless we go out and do it there. So I think, the path is not going to be linear. We'll get things right, we'll get things wrong, as you get in your business day in and day out, right? Same is going to happen to it. That's what it is. In a business, when we run, the result is in a P&L, right? You say $1 on the balance sheet, how much money did you make? In this case, the result has to be able to measure the impact, which is constantly, if we did this, did we get there? What were we trying to do? And if we didn't, how can we modify? How can we change? I think if that level of commitment comes and we're able to put a team together, a team that's going to do it, yes, I think we can at least take an attempt of it. At least all of us can go home and say, we tried, we worked hard. We won't live with the guilt of not doing anything about it. Other people in the community to see is that while people in this room are the fortunate ones, this community still has not so fortunate ones. I believe that it's responsibility of each one of us, whatever we can do, to look at that aspect of the community. We shouldn't be sitting here and talking about, just purely, we should at the same time. I was recently talking to Adruji and we had a meeting and I think about it like it comes back to me all the time when I think about it. A change to 50 people's lives is going to be huge. Let's start with that. Let's try and not lose the sight of those people. There are so many of us which are not so fortunate ones still stuck, who have not been able to do what the rest of us have been able to do by sheer luck or opportunity or hard work. So I believe we should look at that as well.
Thank you so much for answering that, Arvindji. We had a question from that side. I'll come there. I'll request you to please introduce yourself once and then put your question across.
Namaskar. Memaraj now IK Pandit. Currently, I am based out of Hyderabad. Kashmiri Pandit says Ananta Grozen. I am in many ways associated with many associations, organizations, and I can feel the passion, the pain, which many of the speakers have spoken. And I am so happy, thrilled, proud that such things are happening. मेरी एक humble submission है कि while you have elaborated everything in the IQWAT, I think एक चीज़ और जोड़ना है, which is connecting back to Kashmir in so many ways, which is we can take our youths back to Kashmir. There are those memories which Ajay ji mentioned, you mentioned, our temples, our shrines, our saints, our ancestral homeland, our ancestral temples. I think that will help our youth to see what his father, her grandfather, parents have been talking about. I think then slowly, that thing, we are more connected to our motherland, Kashmir, and eventually we can always dream about, think about, make it happen, to go back, reclaim one day, and we will never allow this passion, pain to die and make it happen, at least someday. Thank you. This is my submission.
I completely agree. May the coordinated paninshuri I spoke to them as Rosa and school I went to, I took them to the school. It left a huge impact on them, and it resonates with them till day. And we have been back, quite a few times. So yes, I agree. We should. This is, why not get the youth, involved? As Ajay ji said, it's not about us. It's about the future generations. It's about them being able to know that there is something they need to be proud of, and not only be proud of, but at the same time, they need to preserve. They need to identify with what needs to be preserved. If they don't identify with what needs to be preserved, they won't put an effort into it. So, as I said, Jews do it. They take the kids to Auschwitz. Every Israeli kid has to be there. So, if an initiative like that is, and we can get people together and we can do it regularly, and it's not so many people, there are, it's not, create these excursions for them, create these opportunities for them in a systematic way, which again comes back to, IQWAT. That's a question for actually Ajay ji, one of the initiatives which...
All right, thank you so much. We may have time for a couple of questions, but it's my humble request that we keep our questions short. And I understand that we have various topics to talk about, but in this forum, I would really request that we keep our questions towards commerce, growth, and business. So we'll take another 2 questions. I think, one short question for that lady, and then I've promised here, so I'll come here. And Arvind ji is going to be around, so you can definitely speak to him more and have your questions.
Namaskar, Arvind ji.
Namaskar.
Meenakshi now, which is a local company. I'm a founder of a company, which is like a software company by the name Inference. I just want to ask you, during your journey, did you ever face a time when every road seems to be, kind of blocked, not knowing where to go? During that time, how did you kind of come out of it, remain inspired? You talked about perseverance, right? How did you remain inspired to continue what you had perceived to do?
See, it happens even today, like, we face things wherein at times you start thinking of your survival, right? I don't believe in motivation. I believe in discipline. Discipline is a way of life where you get up in the morning and you're going to do it all over again. And you will fall on your face at the end of the day. But the only way I see entrepreneurs being successful, obviously, entrepreneurship and the opportunity that you tap, a lot of it is depending upon the ecosystem in which you are at that point of time. What's the opportunity provided by the ecosystem, and so on and so forth. But considering the fact that if all that exists, My belief is that exhaust the every way you can fail, and then there is no road. Then there's only one road left, which is of success. So motivation, again, is not a thing because it's not easy to stay motivated. Discipline is a thing. And discipline is a thing, once you inculcate it, it just becomes your DNA. Like, that's who you are, that's what you do. You just get up and do it with same resilience all over again. So a bit of bluntness and dumbness in believing your dream when others don't, because most of the people will say, do something else. Most of people will say, but if you have the conviction, even if you fail at the end of the day, even if the idea that you had started was not the right one, you'll embark on a different one along the journey. But you got to stay up at it and go out there. You can't be a spectator. That's what I believe. I believe it's action all the time. Just get up, do it again, do it again. You'll find a new way. That's what I have, done all my life.
Arvind, namaskar.
Namaskara.
You said that you had a humble beginning when you started your business career. So some words of wisdom that what was your approach when you went for the seed capital to start up your business? A word of advice that how you did it.
First of all, I didn't start a business. I started with survival. For me, it was about how do I have enough on the table to take care of my family. I studied engineering. I went to a plant in Saharanpur in DCM Toyota. I did my summer training there. After I spent about 2.5, 3 months there, they gave me an offer letter. I remember it as if it happened yesterday, because those 2.5 months, there are always things in life which become pivotal for you, and the road you take at that point of time I believe becomes a determining factor. When I did my summer training and I realized at the end of all of this is the job I'm going to land up with. And by the time I convert my blue shirt, which is being on a shop floor, to a white shirt, which is being a deputy general manager, it's going to be all over. And I probably I just gave up on my engineering career. I just didn't see myself being an engineer anymore. And from there onwards, which is the earlier question you asked me, I asked myself a question, how do I do it? And I realized it's a better prospect for me probably to do business degree and then go into banking. That was my dream. As I stepped into it and started rebuilding my career in this, I realized trade finance as an amazing opportunity. And then the biggest dumb decision I made in my life, which actually created me, was when all my earnings, everything I had made in my life, by working for 2 corporates, one was a Singapore-based company, which was in counter trade. Another one is a company called Mark Rich. I don't know how many of you know it. Mark Rich was the father of oil and gas trade. I worked very hard for a few years and I got paid well, because in a trading company, when you're a trade oil and gas, you get paid, by the results you produce. I went and invested all my money into one company. The only thing I did is, I used to live in Noida. I bought 2 shops before that. And the whole thing was, if everything fails, the rental from these 2 shops will sustain me and the family. So at some point of time in your entrepreneurial journey, you'll have to put the house on the block. And that was an investment, exploration and production company. As I said, the ecosystem matters. China was getting built. The energy needs of the world where Chinese were going through the roof, and oil moved from $10 to $60, and the company got sold for $2 billion. I owned 6%. So if I tell you that I had the vision, no. If I tell you that I knew this was going to happen, no. But the fact that you go out there and stay on it, it might not be this, there'll be something else.
Thank you so much. We have one last question.
My name is Priyatosh Wali. Kudos to Ajay and team for making this dream a reality. The question I have is on the lines of giving back to society, what you mentioned. And when Ajay touched upon the collaboration piece, what is your thought on coming out with a genocide museum anywhere in India, especially in Delhi? And will it be fruitful? Will it make sense from the perspective of how Israelis have done, and to showcase to the world what we went through? There are different thoughts, but I thought, what's your take on that?
If we would do anything of this kind, I think we should focus on our youth to make sure that it resonates with them to start with before it resonates with the world. The world doesn't care. We are insignificant politically. The reason you see, as I said, Israel achieve what they will achieve, because there's a state behind it. We don't have a state. So while it's a great idea, yeah, anything that helps us and our future generations to remember who we are. I would do something of this kind if the focus is on internal community. We live in a country of 1.4 billion people. We're not even, the word insignificant doesn't even apply to us, right? Anything that will help along the journey, I don't know, but we have to try. Like, great idea, why not? Let's work further on it, where, what, why, how, and then how do we expose people to it? Obviously, as IQWAT is doing offline and online, this is a part of the offline strategy. Why not? Like you mentioned, the gentleman mentioned about the excursions back to the valley. Why not? Tulmul, why not? Parbat, why not? Because I saw my kids resonate. They were not born there. They lived outside all their lives. The minute they went, I don't know, it's a human thing. हम लोगों सब में roots की calling होती है. It's just that we get too tight and too busy. It's not like we just have to be human about it, because every human has it. हम कहते हैं ना, Kashmiri community. Every other community will say same thing about their community. So feeling proud about the community is a human thing. We are born with it. Love for language, love for food. Love for food is genetic. Kashmiri tribal sites higher than anybody else. Every time I go to a doctor, he says, तुमको problem नहीं है, तुम्हारे दादाजी खाते थे. My dadaji lived 98, and when my mother used to cook food for him, sutti yelos batas par gatsan, and he lived 98. He didn't. It's your DNA. I think going back to roots is a DNA of every person. I think it's a thing. So yes, anything that awakens that, up for it. Why not? Thank you very much.